So we are here now. Thank you for joining for this session, October session. This is gonna be about Pixel Perfect, aka Studio Reports, as you can see here, using the REST-API, leveraging the REST-APIs and some performance optimizations as well. I'm Badr Draifi, Dr. Jaspersoft Host, live from Paris, and my guests today are Ambalal and Mohit, joining us live from India. Hi guys, are you all ready? We have a great audience today.
Yeah, we are ready.
All right. Can you please go to the next slide?
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Can you go back to the next slide? To the previous slide,
Yeah.
please.
Mhm.
All right. So stay tuned, guys. This is our second Thursday, the second next Dr. Jaspersoft session, which is always on the second Thursday, as you're probably now aware of that. And we will be talking about a new upcoming feature that we have. Very excited about that. It's component visualization, Jaspersoft component visualization for report embedding. So it will be a new way that will allow you guys to easily design and improve the look and feel of embedded reports and charts within your applications. Well, this will be able to just like plug and play an enhanced version of your filters, input controls, scheduler, and such, and link them easily to your report. So this is basically for our users that choose to embed Jaspersoft into their own application. All right, great. Just one thing, please put your questions on the Q&A section on the bottom of your Zoom. So we'll be monitoring it and try to get to all of your questions before the end of the session. And just before giving the floor to our speakers here, I have a quick news. So moving forward, I will be stepping back as your host of Dr. Jaspersoft, and Paul Jimenez here with us today will be taking over from here on out. He brings a wealth of knowledge and energy to the table, and I know you will enjoy his decisions as much, if not more. Thank you all for your continued engagement, and confident Paul will keep delivering the same great value in these webinars ahead. You have a word, Paul?
Thank you, Battery. Hello, everyone. My name is Paul Jimenez. I'm a senior support engineer for Jaspersoft. I've been with Jaspersoft for over 8 years now, and I'm very happy to be your next Dr. Jaspersoft host. And I'm looking forward to continuing what Batter has done for the past 3 years. He's done a great job, and I'm looking to pick up the reins and go forward.
Thank you, Paul. Excited to for you to be in our Dr. Jaspersoft host. And without further ado, please, Ambalal Mohit, you can go ahead.
Sure, brother. Myself, Ambalal Nama. I'm the lead QA manager for the Jaspersoft. Currently, I'm also looking after the QA team here. I have also with me Mohit, who is the senior QA. So in today's agenda, we'll be mainly covering the reports and report execution service. Then we'll also discuss about the virtualizer and the performance impact and the load testing scenarios that we do. Okay. So when it comes to report execution, there are mainly two type of executions: synchronous execution or asynchronous execution. In case of synchronous execution, it basically the client will send a request and it will wait for the output to return. So if the report is large, then this delay or the time to return the output could be significant. In case of asynchronous service, basically the client will send a request and it will keep checking for the status of that request, whether the status is ready or not. When the status is ready, then it will get the output. So, and that is the difference, main difference between the synchronous and asynchronous service. For these two, we have a two set of APIs. So the report service. So this is a synchronous service. Using this service, you can export the report to different output formats such as PDF, XLSX, then docx, etc. I'll have a demo of these two services, reports and report execution services, in the further slides. So in case of report service, we can also use different parameters such as the pagination and the input controls in the URI. So you can return all the pages for the report, or if you want to return a particular page for that report, So that can be configured in the URI for the request. So use the report service. Basically, you can use it for the small reports because it is a synchronous service, right? If it is a small report, it will not take much time for the data to return. So it is better to use it in case of a small reports and when the number of reports to run in parallel is not large. When you have a huge report, or if you want to run too many executions, then it is better to go with a report execution service, which is a asynchronous service. So in case of asynchronous service, the report execution, you run a report asynchronously, then you keep checking for the report execution status. Once the status is ready, you send the execution or the export request, and thereafter you send again the output request. I'll show you that in the demo. And once the report execution is completed, you can remove the report execution using the delete API. In this slide, we are showing you the flow of the report execution API, which is triggered in the report viewer of the JasperReports server. We have the report execution API request, then there is an export request, then it checks for the export status, basically will hold for that status to ready. Once it is ready, there is output resource request to get the output. And to properly exit the report viewer, we have a delete button. We have close button there in the report viewer. So when you use the close button and exit the report viewer using the close button, the delete report execution request will get triggered. Okay. We have a pre-recorded demo for these two services. Brother, if you can please play the same.
Yes, so I will be, so I've seen there is a question here, maybe we can answer it just before touching the demo. So we have Hashimi Zakaria asking, can Jaspersoft use the REST API as a data source as well?
Yeah, web service can be used as a data source.
Yeah,
The
so we do
response can
have,
be.
exactly, we do have different, we have the web service API and we have the REST API, web service API, and we have also the JSON auto REST driver as well that you can use with the REST API. So that's also something that you can have for your own reports. So I'll go ahead now and launch the recording from Ambalal. All right.
Showing you the demo of reports and the report execution service. Let me show you an instance where the JasperReports server is running. So I'm taking a JRXML report, which is a Pixel Perfect report account report. I'll be showing you the service of reports and report execution for this report. First, we'll go through the service for the report service. Okay. So this is the sample request to get all the pages for that report. So I've specified the URI and it will have an extension to whichever format you want the report to be exported to. If I send the request, you can see it has returned the response and the response contains all the pages. Okay.
So
and
just a quick question here, Ambala. So how did you authenticate yourself in order to do this, to generate the report?
Yeah, I have an authorization tab, right? I have specified the username and the password here for this.
Okay, so this is using the basic
Yeah, basic authentication. Yeah.
Okay, and I believe there's other ways to authenticate your users as well, right?
Yeah, there are other ways as well. Yeah.
Okay, so if we are using the pre-auth, we can, for example, the pre-auth SSO that we have integrated with Jasper Server, we can just, in this API, we can just add the PP parameter in the get method, and this will take care of the authentication as well.
Yes, exactly. I think it requires some token and those sort of information which can be added into the headers, and it should be taken care of.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. So this is using the basic authentication, and since this is a GET request, I don't need to specify anything in the body. You can see all the pages are written. It contains 47 pages and it is having a pagination. If I want to run the same report without pagination, I can pass that as a parameter. So here I've specified the ignore pagination as true. So you can see there is no pagination and it is being exported as a single page itself. If I go to the end, it will be shown as a single page there. Yeah. And if I want to export only a particular page, I can specify the parameter as page and the number of that page. So only that particular page will be exported here. So you can see the page 1 is exported. And the similar thing, we can do it for the report with input control. So we have a sample report, employee accounts report on this path. If I want the data to be filtered with the employee ID as Sarah_ID, I can specify, I can pass the input control parameter value in the URL and the data will be filtered accordingly.
So a quick question for you here, Ambala, please. So how will we know the name of the parameter that you have their employee ID? Can you show the audience how to get that name?
Yeah, sure. So this is the employee accounts report, right?
Yeah.
This is the report. When you create a pixel perfect report, you will be creating the input controls, right? So there you specify the input control. So in this case, it was employee ID, right?
So that's the name of the input control and the ID you were using. It's
yeah, so the parameter name here. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Good, thank you. And this, yeah, so I believe this is the same as the ID that you created in Studio before publishing it to the
correct.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
That's good, thank you.
Okay, so this was with the report service.
And just say on the input controls about server that. So if we have multiple parameters, we can just like add them with end, right?
Add,
we do.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we can do it with the and parameter.
All right.
Okay. So this covers the report service. Then we have the report execution service. So I'll show you the report execution service. This is the report execution service. The sample request looks like this. We have a post request. There is a body. Again, it is using the basic authentication. We'll have the accept and content type. In the body, you can see the report URI and some parameters like whether you want the fresh data or you want to save the data snapshot or not. Okay, let me send this request. So as part of response, you will get the report execution ID. I can get the details of that report execution ID. Let me copy this report execution ID. And this request, using this request, I can see the details of that report execution. So it is saying status is ready and it is having total 47 pages. There is one more request to specifically check the status of that report execution. Again, you will have to specify the report execution ID followed by status. It will show you whether that report execution is ready or not. Once the report execution is execution ID is there, we have to trigger the export request. In the exports, so this is a post request. I need to specify the report execution ID here, then followed by exports. and whichever format I want to export it to. I specify a single page, first page for this report. If I send, you can see the status is execution, and this is the export ID. So if I want to see the status of the export, I can use this get request, where I specify the report execution ID here. And this is the export ID. You can see it is ready. So we can use the output resource service to get the output. Here I already had the execution ID copied, export ID copied, sorry. I've pasted that, and this is the report execution ID. You can see it has exported it to PDF, and the first page is exported here. And for using the same report execution ID, I can export it to I can use the exports service again using the same report execution ID. So let's say I'm exporting it to first and second page. So let me export it to third page. So this is the new export execution ID generated. Let me check the output for that, the status for that. So it is also ready. Let me check the output. Okay, so it has exported to page 3.
All right. So Ambalan, how can we, if let's say we want to have like more of specific pages. So I want from page 3 to page 10, for example. And also, how can I just like export everything without mentioning if I want all the pages?
Okay, yeah, we can do that. Let's say
I want from 3 to 10, for example.
Yeah, I think last time I was missing the double quotes, so that was the reason it was not working. Yeah. Here we get the export ID. Let me check if we have returned the page from 3 to 10 or not. Here you go. You can see page
starts with 3.
3, ends with 10.
Sounds good. Looks good.
And if we don't want, if we want all the pages, basically, we can just remove this parameter. So it should export all the pages for that report.
All right. All right, looks good. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and we need to delete the report execution. So once we are done with the report execution, to have the in-memory print object to be deleted, we can use the delete request. We need to specify the report execution ID. Okay, it returns 204. Let me try to get the details of that report execution. It says it cannot be found, so it is deleted. So I can, let me just show you the same thing on UI.
And just why, Ambalal, why would we need to delete the report execution?
Because if let's say the report is large, right, then there are virtual files created exactly. And if we don't delete the report execution, then they will remain there and it can create a problem if we are running large reports or there are multiple reports. So it is really important that we delete the report execution.
So it's mostly for performance perspective in order to avoid.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. So here, when I run the report on the UI, you can see this is the report execution request. We get the report execution ID, then this is the export request. We get the export execution, then it polls for the export status, whether the status is ready or not. So it was queued earlier, then it polled again till the status became ready. Then we have this output resource request where we get the output. Okay. And on UI, we have this close button. We can use this button to properly exit the report viewer. So when I use that button, you can see there is a delete request sent for that report execution. Okay, so that is all with the demo for reports and report execution service.
Right. Thank you, Ambalal. All right. Great. Thank you, Ambalal, for that recording. You can now start sharing back your screen, please.
Yeah.
So I see you guys have a lot of questions coming in from the Q&A, so we're keeping note on those and we'll get to them.
So this is regarding the data snapshot feature. So data snapshot is basically a cached copy of the report data. Whenever there is a requirement that you want to run a particular report too many times, and if you don't really need a real-time data, then you can enable this feature. What happens is, like, when the report retrieves the data from the data set, it will be cached. So when you open the report for next time, the data will be retrieved from the cache. And it is basically, again, the performance related thing. And currently, we are supporting only one snapshot for a report. Like if there is a filter, and if you want to have a snapshot for a particular filter value, there is only one snapshot created currently. But we are working on a extend this feature to have basically multiple snapshots based on the filter value. To understand more details about the data snapshot, there was already a Dr. Jaspersoft session created by Navesri in the past. I have a link to that, so you can always refer to that session to get more details about the same. Okay, I'll now hand it over to Mohit for the further slides.
Thank you, Ambalal. Share my screen. Yeah, hi guys. My name is Mohit Pratap Singh. I look into the Jasper report performance issues and escalations. So currently, I'm going to explain you about the virtualizer and its impact on the performance of the Jasper report server. I'm going to get you a view about what is the virtualizers, the type of virtualizers a user can set, and different scenarios in which you can use the different virtualizers that are there. Yeah. To get the knowledge about the virtualizer, you have to understand what a Jasper print object is. So when a Jasper report server exports a particular report, it converts that particular report into Jasper print object, and that object is stored into the in-memory of Java. This object is then converted into the export type that the user is going to export. This object is in memory, so if you export a really large report or you are triggering concurrent reports at a given time, the JVM memory keeps on increasing, and that can lead you to the out of memory exception. To bypass this particular issue, we have to use the virtualizers. So the virtualizer runs on the method where the Jasper print object is converted into print file, and these virtual files are getting placed into the hard disk into the temporary folder of the application. And the virtualizer has its particular threshold based on the report size on which the virtualizer gets triggered, and these virtual files get dumped into the temp folder. So the downside of using the virtualizer would be because it generates all the files into the server. So it generates a lot of files. So the temporary folder can pile up. So you need to monitor that as well. Talking about the type of virtualizers, we have 4 different type of virtualizers. The default one is set as file virtualizer. Then we have swap file virtualizer. We have gzip virtualizer and shared swap virtualizer. The file virtualizer actually converts individual page of JasperPrint object to a single virtual file. So if you have a report of, let's say, 1,000 JasperPrint pages, it will create 1,000 of virtual files. While in the case of swap file virtualizer, a single report will generate a single virtual file. In the case of gzip, it does not create any particular virtual file, but it optimizes the memory consumption according to the usage of report execution. Then we have shared swap file virtualizer. In this case, the number of pages for the JasperPrint is based on the server level. So if you have a high concurrency report execution, but the reports are of medium size, then the shared swap file virtualizer will get triggered. So all these file virtualizers can be configured into the bean of file virtualizer factory. This is present under your server, web, and application context file. So I will just show you the demo here where you can update this particular file to change the virtual file model. So so this is one instance. It is running, JRS is running on Tomcat. So if you go into the web apps, web end folder, you will find the application context file here. So I've opened this file. You will find the bean here for the file virtualizer factory. You can update the class according to the file virtualizer that you are using. You can see 2 different properties for individual virtualizer. This is max size. So max size is the threshold value on which the virtualizer will get triggered. So the default one is set as 300. So any report which is greater than 300 pages will trigger the file virtualizer factory. And this directory is basically the directory in which the virtual file will get placed. So for Tomcat, it is basically under Tomcat temp folder. You can update this according to your use. If you want any other particular location, it can be done that as well. And for the shared file virtualizer, we have different property, shared swap virtualizer. So these are the directory and the block size and the main growth. So these are the, so for shared swap virtualizer, we store the report print object as in block size, and then it grows according to the concurrency that is there. Going back to the slides. Yeah, now we have performed different load testing on our JasperReports server. So basically, I'm going to showcase some of the scenarios that we have performed for different file virtualizer, swap virtualizer, shared swap, and for gzip as well. So for load testing, we use JMeter and new load tool. JMeter we use to replicate a few of the customer scenarios, and new load we are using to run the regression test. The machine configuration we provide are having 4 different nodes, individually having one node dedicated to new load runner, where the test suite will be running. On one instance, the JRS will be running. MySQL we are using as a data source. So all the reports that are generating are capturing the data from MySQL DB. Then we have Postgres repo that is linked with our JRS. So it contains all the repository information. You can see the core sizes and the RAM of the individual nodes. Yeah. Now talking about the test case simulation details. So we do the ramp up. The ramp up is basically when the number of users that we are going to run concurrently, how much time the maximum number of users will take. So up to 10 minutes, the number of users will keep on growing. And for the 60 minutes, all the users that are there will be at a steady state. Then after the 60-second steady state, we are going to ramp down and individual users will be logging out of it. So the pacing is there for 10 seconds. So a particular whole flow of a test user, after he performs a whole set, there is a stoppage of 10 seconds to proceed to the next one. Now talking about the load testing scenario. So this is the scenario one where we are running medium reports of pages around 600 to 1400 pages with 10 columns. So it's a tabular report, 600 to 14 pages. This means that the virtualizer will get triggered. We have set the max size as 300 only. We haven't changed it. So for 600 and 1400 pages report, the virtualizer will get triggered. The concurrency that we have tested in these scenarios are for 10 user, 50 user, and 100 user. So steady state will have all these three. So basically, we are replicating the normal user behavior in this case. So a normal user will log in to the application, open the report. When opening the report, it's basically exporting it to the HTML. The first page is exported into the HTML, and then the user performs the export. So we are exporting in the CSV format here. And once the export is done, we are deleting the report execution. So this will trigger the deletion of the virtual file itself as well. After performing this particular scenario, the results were as follows. So the scenarios for the file, swap, share, and gzip, you can see. So as the number of users are growing, you can see that swap and shared file virtualizer are performing better. They are giving us a much better throughput than compared to file and gzip virtualizer. In the file virtualizer, you can see as the concurrency is increasing, there is a dip in the throughput. This is because the file virtualizer creates the same number of files that are there as the pages. So it keeps on degrading the performance. Now, talking about the CPU utilization for the same scenario. As you can see, the gzip actually works on the memory utilization. So memory consumption utilization. So gzip acquires a lot of JRS memory, while swap and shared works quite efficiently. Yeah. Next scenario is for running the large reports. These are having 37K pages. This means around 1 million rows in the report. So we are running this for the concurrent user of 2 and 10. The steps for the users are the same. In this as well, you can see the throughput here is the maximum for gzip. Here, as the concurrency is only 10 user, and we are giving a large size machine to JRS. Hence, it was able to generate using the memory consumption using the gzip virtualizer, while swap and shared also performed well. Talking about the CPU utilization, you can see that gzip has 96% utilization for 10 users, while the shared and swap are on the lower end. So based on the scenarios that I've talked about, there are 5 use cases I have listed down. So these are the scenarios where the customers can ask us like how many reports and which virtualizer we have to configure. So use case one talks about the medium-sized reports having pages greater than 300 to up to few thousands. So in this case, if the concurrency is not very high, you can use the normal default file virtualizer. Then if you go into the larger reports, better will be the swap file virtualizer. In this case, it will perform better. For running reports that are smaller and are not greater than 300 pages, but the concurrency is very high. So in this case, also you can run into out of memory because file virtualizer and swap file virtualizer won't get triggered in this. So you have to use shared swap virtualizer as it takes the server level pages. So in this use case 3, you should use a shared swap virtualizer. Now running the medium report with good JVM size. This and you need a greater throughput for this. This will have the gzip virtualizer because it can manage a really good throughput for the medium size reports. Now case 5 is a mix of both. There are many different reports for the small size. Those are 90%, and a few of the reports are of a very large size. In this case, you can use SAP file virtualizer, and you can set the max size according to the large report. Yeah. Coming to the demo part, I have set up a machine of JRS. This is my JRS machine, and I've set up a JMeter script for this. And for monitoring, I'm using a Grafana dashboard. So here you can see the information about the JRS machine. It is running on the 8 CPU. We have a RAM of 32 GB, and that this space is also there. So the Grafana is actually putting all from the Prometheus DB, and we have a node exporter on the JRS running. From talking about from the perspective of stress testing or load testing, so this particular thread is going to have the number of user as 25. The ramp up for individual user will be 1 second, and we are going to have it in a loop. So this is just for demo purpose because we cannot run the whole package here. So it will take a lot of time. So just this part. So if you see from
just a quick thing for all the audience here, Mohit, thank you. So everything that the GMeter here that you see, we already had a Dr. Jaspersoft session that will walk you through exactly how to set up what Mohit already set up here in his machine, how to create a test case using JMeter and JasperReports Server, and I will post that in the chat for you guys so you can set up the same test that Mohit will be demonstrating now. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So for this, we are having this logging here. So once the login is done, we are triggering the report execution. Once the report execution is done, we are taking the pool of the report execution ID. Once the report execution ID is ready, we are exporting it, the first page to HTML. Once the export is done, we are saving it, taking the output resource call and saving it into the output repository. So once the HTML is taken out, we are exporting it to a PDF file. And once all the pages are done, we are deleting the report execution ID. So deleting is very important when you are running the stress testing because it will eliminate the swelling up of the temporary directory. Otherwise, it can lead to number of files that are there in the temporary file laying down if you do not delete the PDF file, the report execution in your stress testing. I will just trigger this this particular test to show you the impact on the CPU utilization. So I've just triggered it. Now, individual users are getting logged in. You can see at the right top, out of 25, currently 11. These many users are getting logged in, and they are doing the same steps. Running the report execution, exporting first page to HTML, then exporting all the pages to PDF. So currently now all 25 users are active and they are exporting the same. Now going to the Grafana dashboard, I will show you the spike on the CPU. Yeah, here you can see the spike on the CPU usage. We have different network traffic base graph as well. You can see the disk space utilizing. If I trigger a larger report, you will see this spike here. that the virtual file are getting dumped there. So this will run for quite some time, most probably this. And I'm taking all the exports here. So these are the export files. If I open this PDF file, so this is taking all the 42 pages for the PDF. And if I open a HTML file, this is containing only the first page. So this is the basic user flow for the stress testing. Coming back to our slide. So based on different customer issues, what we have found is there are cases where the temporary folder is getting piled up and it is not getting cleaned. There are some customers who are working on Kubernetes environment and they do not set up the volume for it. So basically for the Kubernetes environment, it should have a good size volume, which should be containing all the virtual files that are getting generated. Now, talking about some of the recommendations from our slide. In the report viewer, you see a close button. In the newer version of JasperReports Server, you will see a close button, which eventually triggers the delete of the report execution. The delete is very important when we are trying to delete all the files that are stored under the temporary folder related to that particular report. Also, when you are using the REST APIs, you have to delete the REST, the report execution ID, because those are linked to the report. For the stress testing as well, as I was shown in the JMeter, the last step after the life cycle of the report execution, the last step should be the delete. If the virtual file, if you see there are older virtual file placed in the temporary folder, you can create a cron job to delete it. This will really improve in your performance. For setting up the cron job, you can directly contact the engineering team here. We have been able to resolve multiple customer issues related to virtual files by creating the cron jobs for it. Based on individual customer requirement, it can be set up. It will depend on what is your session timeout time and how long the virtual file should be there before we delete it safely. Yeah, these are some internal questions that we are going to answer. So can a report have a multiple snapshot based on the input control? As explained by Ambalal earlier, currently we do not support the multiple relationship of snapshot with the report. Currently it is a one-on-one relation, but there is a particular feature that we are working on in which we can have multiple snapshot for individual report. Is there a way to delete the data snapshot using UI or API? Currently, we do not support any particular API or UI which can delete snapshot. It can be only done via the DB commands. Where the virtual file stored for the Kubernetes setup. So as I've already explained, you can set up a volume for the Kubernetes environment, and you can give the path in the virtual file configuration. How we can set up for the cron job? Yeah, as I already explained that you can directly contact the engineering team. We will be able to help you for the cron job.
And just by contacting engineering team, all your question about Dr. Jaspersoft can go through drjaspersoft.connect.jaspersoft.com. You have the email in our presentation. And and we'll make sure that we'll forward it to the right engineering team and give you the right answer. And also don't forget, guys, you have the forum, our Q&A forum in Jaspersoft community.jaspersoft.com. Please feel free to reach out to put your questions there and tag Dr. Jaspersoft in the questions. And if you're a commercial user, please use the support app, and you are going to have a dedicated support engineering to help you on your questions. Thank you, Mohit and Ambala, for this great, rich presentation. We do have a question from Jason Moffett, and I'll quote: use a single thread execution report sequentially. All right, this approach allows throttling on the application if necessary. For a case like this, synchronous execution would make the app far simpler. Is there a way to monitor server load using the API? I'm not sure I understood the question about the API. I think the question is, can we use the Synchronous API and monitor the server load with that API? That's at least what I understood.
Currently, we do not support a particular API that to monitor the server load. There are different monitoring tools that can be set up, and according to which the performance can be monitored. Regarding the single thread execution report sequentially, I think you can, in the JMeter that I showed, it was only for the demo purpose. For the real purpose, we have different threads. It was only for, I have disabled for this one.
All right, so I think he followed up with, and I quote, my case is we use an external application for the reports, and we save it to our own FTP path. How can I utilize synchronous service here with my application? Any suggestions will be appreciated. All right, so I think that the first answer from Mohit answers that as well. Unless Mohit, you have other input here?
It's basically the same.
No, for this question related to FTP path, I think we'll have to check that and see like if we can configure it to save it at a particular FTP path, the report, the output of the report service, the synchronous execution.
Okay, so yeah. So we're talking about if they want to use the asynchronous and put the exports on the FTP, on the FTP server. Yeah, I think that will be also part of two APIs. So maybe we can use the REST API and then call the other APIs to put put the output in the FTP server. I'm not sure if we have an endpoint to do this. Do we? An endpoint that will put the output to the FTP server like we do in the scheduler.
No, at least for the report service, we don't have. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so that will be a different way of ours. So what time is not nearly an issue. It's part of two APIs now. Yeah, it's a part of two APIs now. We're already running too late. And Jason Moffett, please send us an email with more explanation here. If you're a commercial user, please add a support case and just also tag Dr. Jaspersoft there, and we will be reviewing your question. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. That was really great, and see you. Well, Paul will be seeing you next month in the Jaspersoft Visualize Components session. And have a great day, night, wherever you are. Thank you all.
Thank you all.